This presentation is a second look at good agricultural practices and GAPs, good handling practices, GHPs. So if we go to the website, there's actually two links here. Go through the first one on your own. This was kind of an initial response early in the food safety story about GAPs and GHPs presentation by the Agricultural Marketing Service, the AMS of the United States Department of Agriculture. So please review this one on your own. I'm going to go through the update, which is largely still in place. There have been minor changes since 2014 when this was presented, but largely things have stabilized around that point. There haven't been a lot of substantive changes. Certainly details have changed, but this is the Agricultural Marketing Service Food Safety Update. They talk about the National Organics Program, the accredited certifying agents, the people who are responsible, certified to perform audits and verification. Plus, they talk about an annual training event, where this actually is presented at an annual training event. So working relationships and activity with the FDA. Again, this is from the AMS, but the AMS, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Agricultural Marketing Service, works very closely with the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, to implement and regulate food safety laws and regulations. FDA's rulemaking highlights, in particular, the latest at the time on the Food Safety Modernization Act. It actually was written in 2010, signed in written up to 2010, signed in January of 2010, I believe, by Obama, and then became the law of the land 2011, and then it took a few years to kind of iron out the kinks. Certainly, the presenters were talking about the National Organics Program, because there were a lot of questions initially. How do these food safety laws and regulations apply in organics? Produce Safety Alliance, a group that provides technical assistance for food safety to industry, and the GAPS program. So first, a look at the Agricultural Marketing Service. What is their mission statement? What do they actually do? To facilitate the competitive and efficient marketing of agricultural products, not just domestically, but also internationally. Doesn't say so here, but clearly they have an international scope, even though their main target audience is domestic United States consumers. Their vision: we envision a marketing system that quickly and efficiently moves wholesome, affordable agricultural products from the farm to the consumer. So again, it's about marketing, it's about money, it's about the economy of the United States and the ability to sell and trade goods that people have confidence that it's safe. Now, there's a very strong working relationship that I believe got much tighter between 2007 and 2000 and I would say 11, 12, during the transition to the Food Safety Modernization Act. They work very closely together. And there is what's called a memoranda of understanding, which are a small set of documents that basically outline the relationship between these two massive, major United States federal government agencies. Interagency agreements, federal government review process, again, looking at, is this the best organization? Is there responsibility set up in a way that is efficient, or is there too much duplication of effort? People look at this all the time. USDA teams working with the FDA on a variety of issues. Now, some of these FSMA, or Food Safety Modernization Act issues, there's a special work group that's focused on ag water issues. Now, because it's Food Safety Modernization Act, this is about water safety, about contamination and the use of various types of water, surface water, well water, canal water, pond water, whatever source of water you have, so that the water is not a source of a food safety contamination or cross-contamination event. Biological soil amendments of animal origin. So this work group focuses on manures and composts that go into agricultural production. Now, the rules are very strict now in terms of how can you make compost or manure products that are safe for certain applications. And so there are lots of rules, and we could spend hours just going into composting. Farm and facility issues, so all kinds of specifics on the farm related to food safety, related to issues with wildlife, issues with neighboring streams, rivers, and ponds, issues with potential proximity or location near septic systems or sewer systems, animal production facilities, chickens, lambs, horses. Horses doesn't have to be animal production, it could be recreational as well. Cattle, and on and on. Anything where animals are nearby is an issue on the farm. In the facilities, it's the manufacturing facilities. What's going on inside of processing plants, whether they're significant conventional processing, doing smoking, drying, canning, etc., or the value-added, minimally processed material. It all falls under this work group. Withdrawal of exemption, material conditions, got to look up what that is. Not worried about it. Not for this class. Preliminary regulatory impact analysis. In other words, what is going to happen economically? How is this going to affect agricultural businesses and their customers and consumer prices, et cetera? And the specific target is the manure and composting issues. When they're changing those regulations, it changes supply, it changes pricing, it changes everything related to production systems that utilize manure and compost. How is that going to have an impact down the road? So participants in this work group, there's the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Marketing Service, National Organics Program. NOP is National Organics Program. So they're a major participant in this because certainly in organic produce, organic production methods, they rely heavily on natural sources of soil amendments as opposed to conventional, highly processed fertilizers. And conventional operations use these things too. They use manures and composting, but they have the alternatives. It's like, okay, I can't get enough of the compost, I'll just utilize some gypsum and some conventional fertilizer and I'll be fine. Organics, not as much. Organics will be hit harder, or have been hit harder, in terms of trying to figure out what they are going to do in light of these Food Safety Modernization Act changes that impact manure and compost. Now, compost, I think a lot of the kinks have been worked out. People are upping their game and making more safe composted products. Manure is trickier because manure, is contaminated at the beginning. There's an extremely high probability that there are food safety issues in manure that have to be handled. And so the rules are extremely strict with manure, not only what you need to do to make it a product that is safe, but also limiting the applications. Again, participants, you don't have to memorize who the participants are in this, but you need to know about AMS and NOP, what they are. Those are acronyms that you should be aware of in a class like this. So, USDA team working with the FDA, cooperating agency request for the draft environmental impact analysis statement. So again, if you are creating all of these federal rules that are going to impact all of agriculture related to how they compost and utilize and recycle manure waste products, that's an economic and environmental impact. So EIS is an environmental impact statement, and EIR is an environmental impact report, which is a little different. It's more detailed. It's a requirement of law for a specific project. So when you get down into the weeds, I'm a farming operation and I'm going to put another 200 acres of land that we own on this property into agricultural production. I need to do an environmental impact report on that specific situation. At a more generalized level, you often from the government will get these EISs, which are based on data, are based on science, but they are more general in their scope because it's applying to an entire range, possibly the entire country of agricultural operations. Oops, where did I go? Other cooperating agencies, certainly the Fish and Wildlife Service. At the federal level, there is the Environmental Protection Agency, again at the federal level. But we also have in California the the CDFA, California Department of Food and Agriculture. There's also wildlife organizations in California. We have our own environmental agency in California as well that aren't necessarily directly part of the teams, but they're part of the overall scope of these discussions and providing data and everything else. Produce Safety Alliance. There's a cooperative agreement between or among the USDA, the FDA, and Cornell University, and they reach out to land grant universities across the country, including California. Obviously, California is the largest agricultural country or state in the country, and so California plays a big role in this. Now, since it is a federal group based out of the Washington, D.C. area, Cornell University, which also is very strongly agriculture on the eastern seaboard, it makes sense to have a partner that's logistically much closer. So, and also Cornell is well respected in high level science in agriculture. So they make a good team, and the California land grant system is also part of this broader group, such as UC Davis or the UC system in general. Development of standards for standardized farmer training curriculum and train the trainer curriculum, because you need to make sure that everybody's learning the same things and you don't have a game of telephone going on, so that the message coming from the federal government, FSMA, the AMS, the FDA, doesn't end up reaching the actual small growers with completely different messages or missing information or miscommunicating. And so you've got to create standardized materials to train the farmers and also train the people who are training the farmers. And the workers, it has to work its way down, not just the business owners, but all the way down to the people doing the work. So there's a large number of members across the country. Certainly farmers and growers have to be participating in the team. Packers, post-harvest operation people, cooperative extension. We have our farm advisors office here in Monterey County, but there are cooperative extension groups across the country. Ours are based in the University of California system, but located where they're needed. So we have a number of University of California paid employees right here in Monterey County in the same building as the Agricultural Commissioner's office. And those cooperative extension folks are the intermediaries between the research science, the federal government, the information that's coming down, that's being learned, and the farmers to help bridge the gap and get that information properly formatted, properly condensed in a way that can be disseminated or spread to the actual people who need the information. Researchers, consultant, land grant university, et cetera, et cetera. Certainly the FDA and USDA, their Natural Resources Conservation Service, they've got all kinds of detailed divisions within that, such as soils. Our National Soils program is housed within that. The Agricultural Research Service, which is the research end of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the Salinas facility is right next to the Hartnell-Alisal campus in Salinas, and of course the AMS as well. Let's take a very brief break.